I make it. I feel I'm so close, I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to haters. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
Entertaining. Episode 291 today with a special guest. For some that don't know, he's a viral internet sensation, actor in Empire and Shameless. He's got a hit, White Boy Summer, and then he went viral for talking patois, right? And then famous for his anti-vaccine rant, famous for anti-Trump rants. And his father is a winner, I believe, of Black Jeopardy, right, Doug? He from SNL, who happens to be also Tom Hanks. Chet, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast, man.
Thank you for having me.
You got a lot of stuff you've done, man. You're all over the place with your opinions, your thoughts, your creativity.
Yeah, I've been pretty outspoken.
How do you feel about that?
Well, some of the things I've been outspoken about, I have a different opinion on now. Things are always changing. Sometimes you speak on something at one point and it's 2020 hindsight. So you can't know at the time how things are going to pan out. So, sometimes your opinions change, but one thing that hasn't changed is I've always been pretty open about my opinions on things. If I feel like I have something to say, then I don't really have a problem using my voice.
That's great, but I'd be curious to know what opinions have changed, by the way, because with you, I got a lot of topics I want to get into. I got your own self on how to create your own identity, being in the family household that you were raised in. I'm sure that's like the main topic people want to talk to you about. Your family's, somehow, some way, always tied to, not always, recently, maybe in the last 2.5 years, tied to conspiracy theories. And then at the same time, you seem very loose. You seem very comfortable in your own skin when you go out there doing what you're doing. So you were saying some things have changed. I gave the intro, and right off the bat, the first thing you said is some opinions have changed. What has changed?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's get right into it. Specifically, like when you mentioned that I was against Trump, right? Well, what you're talking about is a video I posted also in a Jamaican accent when Trump lost the election, and I said boss man Biden beat Trump and whatnot. The reasons I was against Trump at that time have not changed. Specifically, the racist stuff. It's debatable, people got their own opinions on whether he's actually racist, but I'm talking about the comments of there was good people on both sides when talking about the neo-Nazis. That's the stuff that made me be against Trump at the time. But at that time, when Biden won the election, I was bigging up Biden, and my feelings of Biden have changed.
So you don't have the same opinion. This is the most popular president we've ever had, 81 million votes. Your opinions on him has changed?
On Biden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what way?
I mean, well, does it look like this country is going well?
There's
the economy is, absolute shit. In LA, there's homeless people everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just doing drugs out on the streets. We gave all that money to Ukraine for what? Our economy, don't we have enough problems to take care of within our own country? Rather than go spending all our tax dollars giving it to some other country while we have homelessness everywhere, it's rampant, and we're giving out crack pipes to people. Yeah.
But isn't that an LA problem? Like, isn't that something that your boy Newsom has to kind of clean up, or Garcetti?
It's also New York, though. That's also Illinois,
Correct.
though. That's also, Portland. You
sure,
saw what
Portland,
happened.
Seattle.
Did you see what
of course.
Portland came out and said yesterday? Did you hear about that? Tyler, did you hear what the Portland guy said yesterday? We got to figure this out. This homelessness problem is bad. Too many drugs out there. And what are you talking about? These are the byproducts of your policies.
Mm-hmm. Well, it boggles my mind how Gavin Newsom is even in office. I mean, it's almost as if you had a governor there his job was to just have everything go to shit as much as possible. It's almost like that's his objective. Mm-hmm. Like, how can I fuck up this state as much as possible? That's what it looks like to me.
He crushed it in the recall. What was that, in 2020, 2021? And it wasn't even
Larry
close.
Elder.
Against Larry Elder.
Doesn't make any sense to me. That also goes for the mayor of LA. I mean,
Garcetti.
I mean, it's all absolute shit.
Yeah.
I've grown up. I was born and raised in LA my entire life. I've never seen anything like this.
when did it start really getting bad? Because it didn't
during COVID.
It got exponentially worse during COVID.
Mm-hmm. As I'm sure it was like in a lot of cities all across America. Also, the stuff in the vaccine, I just don't agree with. I think it's morally wrong. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like people should be forced to take anything. I think it's absolutely insane.
Why do you? But here's the question, though, Chet. You come across as you have a very different experience in life than the average person. You've seen a lot, okay, in your life, and at a very young age. So, to you, a nice car to an average guy, oh my God, that's a Lamborghini. You're like, dude, I've seen the cars. You've seen
that's
the jets.
Incorrect. That's incorrect.
You still value that? You'll still see cars?
This is like the number one misconception about me and my upbringing. That like I was just, given Lamborghinis or
that's
nice
not what
cars.
I'm saying. That's
right. No,
yeah.
but still, like a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Like this is what people don't understand is that, like for the majority of my life, I've been absolutely broke. Like living paycheck to paycheck. Like throughout my early 20s. I mean, throughout up until my late 20s, when I started when my acting career started taking off, and I was making enough money to support myself, so I didn't have to work a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had $700 in my bank account, then that was like a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Like for the majority of my life, up until my mid 20s, until I started getting consistent recurring roles or series regulars on TV shows.
But I guess the point I'm trying to make, and I appreciate you saying that. I think one part you said, I would tell my dad, I need some money. He would say, go wash my car. Here's $60, right? So you always had to earn based on what you said, the way you were raised. I actually think you were raised the right way by, hey, we have the money, but this doesn't mean.
Me too.
But what I'm saying is you've been on the jets, you've been around the celebrity, you've been on the Hollywood people, you've seen all these guys. They're regular people that come to your house. I'm assuming that's the life you were around. So, but you're also in a space where if let's just say I'm my father's a general of the army, who am I going to be around? Military guys, vets, colonels, officers, that's my world. So I understand military. That's the world I come from. So my language is yes, sir, this. And maybe I hate it. Maybe it's too much. Like, stop cleaning my bed in the morning. I don't want to clean my bed. There's going to be some kind of resentment towards a military background. Right? You hear something. Or if my father was a pastor of a big church and I got caught smoking weed, and the next Sunday morning, the pastor, I remember being at church when my pastor's son got caught doing something, and he had to talk about it on stage, 20,000 members, not comfortable. So the pressure of being the son of a preacher's boy, we've read about it. You've seen it all over the place. Right? There's certain pressure that comes with it. But the Bible studies, all that's because that's your world. Same with athletes. Michael Jordan's son, he's got the shadow of his father, and he's trying to, there's no way in the world you're going to match that shadow. For you, you're in a family where the last name is Hanks. It's Tom Hanks. And your mom's also an actress. So they both made it to the top, but your dad's in the GOAT status. He's one of the greatest of all time to do what he's done. I know you talk about what movies till today gets you emotional when you talk about some of the movies. But for you to say what you just said about Biden, what you just said about California, about Newsom comfortably the way that you did, and then in that world, most of them support what Newsom does. Most of them supported the shutdown. Most of them supported the vaccine. Most of them supported. How do you is that a battle you deal with, or no, you're pretty comfortable with your position and, hey, this is who I am?
I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not.
Have you always been like that?
Not always, but as I get older, I just feel that that's important. I mean, I can't be anybody other than who I am. I could, you could be who you are. You could omit. You know what I'm saying? I could be who I am and just not say that. But we're having a discussion. I could just omit that. But then isn't it kind of a lie of omission if I choose not to say something that I really believe? I mean, we're on a podcast. I'm with you. I already know coming into this is going to be an extremely intelligent discussion. This is the type of platform for extremely intelligent discussions. I haven't mentioned this, but I mean, it's such a privilege to be here because I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I watched all the Mafia States of America. Mm-hmm. Like, I love this shit. You know what I'm saying? So this is a trip, and it's dope to be here having a conversation with you. I have tremendous respect for you and both you guys. So it's really a privilege to be here. So if this is the platform to have a intelligent discussion like that, then why wouldn't I?
Is it tough to do that? Is it tough to? I guess let me ask the question a different way. So, for example, a Steinbrenner's son. Let's say everybody knows the Steinbrenner last name. You think about what? The Yankees. Imagine if his son is like, yeah, I think baseball's. I think I'm not a Yankees fan, and I'm a Red Sox fan. Hypothetically, that's your position. That's a very dramatic position.
Well, it's
right?
interesting, right? Because technically, politics, whether you are on the left or the right, shouldn't have anything to do with your skill set as an actor or an entertainer.
I agree.
So, but somehow it's been skewed that way. Somehow it has been skewed that way where if you're in entertainment or Hollywood, then you're only allowed to promote one side. And if you promote the other side at all, you're like persona non grata. But at this point, I've already been so fucking outspoken about anything my whole life. It's like, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? People who are going to work with me are going to want to work with me because I'm a talented actor or because we have a relationship. And if they don't, then fuck it. You know what I'm saying? I'm no longer dependent on having to put all my eggs in one basket, whether it's acting, music, or anything else I got going on, because I have something else. Now I have my self-mastery program, my coaching program, and that's extremely fulfilling because I get to work one-on-one with people and help change their lives. Because people have seen my story and how I've changed my life. Even though I'm still outspoken, I'm sober. I got in the best shape of my life, and I'm actively pursuing something that's benefiting people directly, where I get to work with people one-on-one and witness their growth and do what I can to aid their growth right in front of my eyes. Because I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I can say is that most of the time when people reach out to me, I know exactly what they're going through because I've been there.
Chet, how old are you now?
I'm 32.
All right. Respect, by the way, for speaking your mind, whether you're left, right, up, down, middle. Cool. Do you. I don't think anybody should be blackballed or canceled because they have beliefs, political beliefs, social beliefs, all good.
Opinions.
All good. Zero issues. You said you typically were more liberal leaning, now a little bit more conservative.
My entire family, I was raised in a Democratic family for sure.
That's just Hollywood.
Some people are, raised, in conservative families that grow up Republicans. Some people are raised as Democrats. Okay, when you're a little kid, you're growing up in your family. Okay, I went to a school that was very conservative, so I was like a minority for having a family that was Democrats, right? So like when you're a little kid, when you're in the 5th grade, you know what I'm saying? When Bush was getting elected or something, and you have your little school has like the elections, right? Well, who's a 5th grader voting for? They're just voting for the president that their parents are voting for, right? So they don't have any opinion on politics. They're just raised a certain way, right? So I was definitely raised in that, on the left, in the liberal, democratic, just mindset, culture, or whatever. But I truly consider myself a complete moderate. I truly believe that, honestly, a two-party system is ridiculous, because what we're having to accept now is you either have to bipartisan extremes.
Right.
If you have to accept the extremes of each party, even though the most rational decision or point of view is always going to be more in the middle. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like if you're forced to like pick a side and then co-sign even the most extreme ideologies of that side, just because it's just because you're picking the lesser of two evils.
For sure.
But I honestly think that nowadays, the Republican Party is a lot more moderate than the Democratic Party.
Yeah, well, they're both sides are extreme, whether you're talking about the woke left or the absolute complete conspiracy theorist MAGA right.
Right.
But
that's true.
Moderate, I think moderate is great. I'm definitely in that camp. Unfortunately, if you're a politician, moderates don't get eyeballs. We're in an eyeball culture.
Yeah, but I feel like most people are truly moderate. Most people you come across are moderate. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like I'll speak for myself, for example, okay? Like I believe in the Second Amendment, okay? So that's like a right ideology. I also believe that women should be able to get abortions. Okay, that's a left ideology. Okay, two completely rational things that should be like logical, but people are forced to either go on, pick one side, and then accept all the stuff that comes with it. So if I want to keep my guns, now I gotta be rallying against abortions. You know what I'm saying?
Because life isn't black and white.
It's not.
Life isn't. There's a gray area. There's a nuance. You could be liberal in some stuff. You could be conservative in other stuff.
Exactly.
So I think that's the problem in America today is that you're on team blue or you're on team red.
Yeah.
What happened to red, white, and blue, baby?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's the problem in the culture today. Let me ask you one more follow-up question. Since you seems to be a moderate person who was more left, now you're more right, there must be things that upset you or trigger you, especially on the conspiracy side of things. Like things aren't conspiracies until they're actually proven true. As an example, like freedom of speech, they're limiting our freedom of speech. It's like, well, they kind of are. Big tech, right?
Of course.
COVID vax. Well, yeah, you can't trust it. It's like, well, turns out you probably kind of couldn't, right? But then you get into crazy conspiracy things
it's
like
insane.
QAnon, adrenochrome, liberal elites, blood babies. That's where you lose people and you're like, that just doesn't make any sense. And then you hear stories of like your father, America's dad almost, drinking adrenochrome. You've heard these stories, I assume.
Of course.
How do you process that?
I mean, it's fanciful. How do I process it? I think that people are crazy freaking, sci-fi fantasies are a lot more interesting as an explanation for why things are the way they are than real life or the real answer. It's a lot more interesting. People are bored, right? People are bored in their lives. It's interesting to get lost in these crazy theories and conspiracies instead of like looking at like, this more simple, probably much more truthful answer of why things are the way that they are, right? But I don't think that the left is doing themselves any favors. I mean, they're kind of the reason in promoting all these theories because, I mean, just look at Instagram, okay? If you put a post on Instagram saying anything against the vaccine, it gets flagged. You might get shadow banned. It might get removed. Why is that? Why is that? What interest does Meta have in promoting the vaccine? Why? Why should they have an interest in that?
They see themselves, that what they claim is they see themselves as they have the responsibility to fact check because they have so much influence nowadays, so they don't want people to be influenced to think otherwise.
But why are they worried about people thinking otherwise?
They view themselves as arbiters of truth.
Yeah, but this isn't so fucking insane. I mean, just think about how insane this is. That now the government is so involved in our lives that they think that, and people agree that they have the right to tell us what to inject into our fucking blood. What is that? A couple years ago, before COVID happened, you would have said that's fucking insane. But because of the chaos and the fucking ridiculous shit that just of the people just going nuts, the economy tanking, homelessness everywhere. People have somehow through all this chaos gotten to the point where they go, oh yeah, I mean, this is normal. This is normal for the government to come tell us where we can and can't go based upon a fucking injection. It's not normal. This shit is fucking insane.
Well, Chet, how did you develop such strong opinions on this? Because if we all remember March of 2020, the first big name that got COVID was your father, Tom Hanks. And nobody knew what the fuck was going on with COVID at the time, if you recall. And I'm thinking, I'm saying as a human, as a fan, as a person, I'm thinking, holy shit, Tom Hanks, he's got it. Like, what is this, AIDS? Is this Ebola? Like, what's gonna happen to Tom Hanks? And like a couple months later, he's like hosting SNL, fucking doing his David S. Pumpkin, like doing his thing. I'm like, you go, boy, you're back. But at the time, it was really freaking scary. So that must have done something to you and triggered something to be like, it ain't that bad. Like, how did you come to this conclusion where you're at with COVID and vaccine and all that?
Well, I mean, so like, what's the question?
No, so like your dad was the first person that quote unquote got
I remember,
famous person.
Yeah.
So you probably didn't know much about COVID at that time, vaccines at that time.
No,
I assume you didn't have these strong opinions on vaccines at the time.
Well, this is when this started to take a turn.
That's
for
what
me.
I'm asking.
When they came out with the vaccine, I thought, oh, okay, cool. If people want to go get a vaccine, they'll be able to get a vaccine.
Right.
But then once it started to become about no,
mandates.
You can't work at your job if you don't get a vaccine. You can't. You get kicked out of the military if you don't get your vaccine. If you're a teacher, you can't go teach unless you get your vaccine. You can't go to a restaurant unless you get your vaccine.
This was what's going on in L.A.
Yeah, this is
not here in Florida.
In L.A.
Yeah,
I said this is fucking insane. What gives them the right to do that? To force you where you can and can't go in public spaces based on whether you get an injection or not? That's when I spoke out about it first. But see, at the time, most people are just living in fear. So if someone there's so much fear and chaos going on, if the fucking TV screen tells them this is the solution, don't be afraid, get the vaccine. Most people are so fucking dumb, they'll just go do that. And if they want to, that's their fucking. I'm not mad at them. If you want to go get it, go get it. But don't fucking kick me out of society if I don't want to.
Did you feel that? Like, were you not able to act? Were you not able to get jobs? Like, what were the situations that you felt the ramifications for not being pro-vax or even getting a vax?
I mean, I got it. I got the vaccine. I got it on paper. I got the vaccine.
Got it. You got the card.
So there's no ramifications.
Yeah, gotcha. What's wrong with your eye?
Well, you remember when Tom Cruise was doing that one movie on the set where he lost it, we're following all the guidelines and we're doing. Do you remember that whole thing?
Oh yeah. He freaked out on
blew up and it was
out here.
Well, is he doing it to show responsibility? Is it really Tom blowing up? Is it really this? Because he didn't want to get the lawsuit because it was a big mess back then and they were not letting Hollywood work and we had no movies and movies were being released on Netflix, so not Netflix, just Netflix or Apple TV. But people in that space, it's a very interesting, because a part of that space is being creative, right? And what is the core foundation of being creative? It's being free.
Yeah, right? Free.
So to me, creativity is stemmed from, hey, don't. Remember when you were a kid and you're painting and you said don't
color inside the lines
or do this, and the creativity is what I want to do it this way. I mean, you go to a place and you see a piece of art selling for $10 million or $1 million, you're like, I'd never buy something like this, right? But part of being creative is to let loose, to be free, to here's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the industry that's supposed to be the most creative became so much about guidelines and rules and like almost like a religious to follow, which is if there's any, like, I would have seen military doing that, because military is what? Don't ask, just do it. Yes, sir. Take the order. You can't question anything. You got to kind of do that. Okay, fine. I can see military doing that.
Like our buddy who was here last week, that was former
Stu Scheller.
military.
I mean, listen, guys, I took probably 11 vaccines day one when I joined the Army. You didn't have a choice. It was an air gun. Boom, boom, boom. There was 6 people on each side, and you get an air gun shot. And then by the time you're done, you don't know what vaccine. You sign it off, because that's kind of what you do when you're
getting shot up with all sorts of stuff.
And you have no idea what it is half the time. You're just signing it off when you're 18 years old, 19 years old. But it's kind of weird to see the most creative industry.
It's really weird.
Be dysregulated.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's bizarre.
So okay. For when I talk to RFK, Robert Kennedy, I'm so curious about the Kennedy family, because Kennedy family, there's certain last names, whether the kids like it or not, you're part of that brand. Okay.
Right.
If your last name's Kennedy in politics, you're part of that brand.
Right.
If your last name's Trump, I'm sorry, you're part of Obama, Clinton. Chelsea's got no choice. Chelsea can't go say, you know what, I just want to go out there and do X, Y, Z. You can't. You are a Clinton, right?
Yeah.
In sports, you got Brady. Those kids, for the rest of their lives, they're a Brady.
Yep.
Jordan, you're a Jordan. Gretzky, how many Gretzkys are out there? You're locked into those names, right? The only other Hanks I know is Merton Hanks. I don't know if you remember Merton Hanks or not.
49ers. Long neck.
Hanks,
long neck.
Outside of that, there's only one Hanks I know. So in the Hanks family, okay, Your dad's been pretty, you know, but we've all seen the Goldcast video where they tell the story about your dad, and you know, I regret doing this, or I regret. He seems very sincere when he's talking about certain areas of his life when he's blown up in Hollywood. Was the family the kind of a family where at nighttime you guys had real conversations? Because what Kennedy told me is in their family every night his dad would ask, so what do you think about drugs? What's wrong with cocaine being illegal? What's wrong with prostitution? What's wrong with this? And then kids would battle it out and they would debate because that's what the identity.
Family dinners were all about debate.
That's what it was. And I love that. I love that. Almost every family I saw that's been successful, they were in the community of
debating. Did he say
debating.
what age that started at?
No, since you were kids, they
Wow.
would debate. Since you were kids, they would debate. Was the Hanks family a family where you talked about serious issues, or was it more about, tell us how school was today? Tell us how this was today. And they kind of hid you because they're so concerned because, you know, Tom Hanks is here and we want our sons to have a regular life. What was that like?
We definitely we sat at the dinner table every night. You know, no phones, just being present with each other, and we talked. We talked. That was like mandatory. My parent, you know, I mean, it was no phones. You know what I'm saying? Just connecting with each other. You know, like we definitely did that.
Was it connecting? Was it a debate environment or no? It wasn't.
We did a thing. We did high point, low point. So we did like the high point of our day and the low point of our day.
Got it. I like that. So what was the high point of your day, low point of the day? Was there ever because, you know, for your dad, you said you went to a conservative school in L.A., right? Is that
the majority of the families there were from conservative families.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it was it like a Catholic private school?
It was Episcopalian.
Private school.
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, but it doesn't seem like, but your parents, were they also religious or not necessarily?
No,
were they church going or no?
My mom.
Okay.
My mom, I was baptized Greek Orthodox. My mom was Greek and Bulgarian. Her parents were from, my grandfather, my papu, was from Bulgaria. And my yaya, my grandmother, was from Greece. And we were Greek Orthodox, Christian. Not extremely religious, but, you know, it's more about family and tradition. You know, it's not like, you know, like a fire and brimstone kind of religion. You know, it's very laid back.
You know why I asked that?
It's more about family and tradition.
That's what I'm saying. But because your mom and dad, also their backgrounds, their faith, there's differences. So it's a normal thing to have differences. Would you say that's what it was? Or here's what we are. This is what we believe in. Here's what the Hanks family does. In our family, we do X. Doesn't sound like it was that.
Not at all.
I got
Not
you.
at all.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why I'm why I'm comfortable being outspoken, because I don't feel like I have any mold that I have to fit into. I don't feel like I like what you mentioned about like the Trumps and the Clintons and all that. I never felt any sort of pressure whatsoever to fall in line with any kind of mold, and I'm thankful for that. You know, my pops used to tell me, like, hey, if you grow up and what you find you're passionate about is being a fucking garbage man, then, you know, I support you being a garbage man.
Respect.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, my family's, like, really laid back like that, and I appreciate them, and I love them a lot for that.
Well, that's
for many reasons.
I think that's very...
They're very normal people, they raised me to be extremely... You know, they raised me to be humble. Okay, they themselves are very humble, hardworking people. They know the value of hard work. They work their asses off to get to where they are. They didn't have anything. They grew up, you know, dirt poor. So they were always very conscious in raising me, very conscious of the fact that I was not raised like any of the other, you know, kids of my peers growing up. I was not raised like anyone.
Can you tell us what the other way of being raised would be in Hollywood, where your parents are super, super famous?
Right.
What was that like?
Well, let me put it like this, right? Out of all my peers I ever had growing up, from, you know, the time I was in kindergarten to all the way through high school, I was probably the least spoiled kid that I ever met. Right, like there were kids, you know, that might have been the son of like a successful like dentist, you know, or an orthodontist that I went to school with, and they were spoiled rotten. You know what I'm saying? My parents could have spoiled me more than anybody, and I was the least spoiled. Okay, because they raised me consciously, knowing that if we give this kid everything, he's going to grow up to be, a loser or just a piece of shit or just have no work ethic because he's already been given everything. It's about work ethic. They knew if they raised me that way, then I would grow up with absolutely zero work ethic. And they were right, because the kids that I grew up with that were raised like that, they're not doing shit. You know what I'm saying? They were correct.
Were they? Did they talk to you about? Because I like what you said when you said the first time you met President Bush, you went to the White House and he asked you the question that everybody asked you. You were 14 years old, I want to say. I think you said you were 14. And he asked you, so what is it like, being the kid of Tom Hanks? And you said the first time I had to actually think about it, and then you gave the answer. And then he said, yeah, me too, because my dad was also, George Bush Sr., right? Because his father was also a president. Like, imagine being the shadow of a guy that's a president. Everyone's thinking if you're going to be a president one day. That's very much of a pressure to have, which he went through his phase of partying. We had him at an event one time. I interviewed him. He opened up. He asked to turn off the cameras, no recording. The only thing is we gave him a recording that's at the Library of Congress or whatever they wanted to have, because they document all that stuff. But he opened up about alcohol. He opened up about he's like, one day I'm sitting at the house and I'm, having drinks, and I'm sitting there saying, I missed years of my life with my kids. What am I doing? I went and took all the liquor. I dropped it. I said, that's it. I'm not having any alcohol anymore. I came back. I wanted to be a good example to my father. I wanted to be a good husband, good father to my kids. He says, I changed my life. And then boom, he became a president. And he was a guy that used to party. He was a guy that also went through that. But how did your parents handle the shadow? Because I think that's the hardest thing to do, right? How do you manage the shadow where a kid, your brother's an actor as well, and he goes and does what he does, and you guys have a different temperament. Your personality's in a different way than his, but he gives you love, he gives you respect. You guys are a very loving, very united family, even though you have differing opinions. Was there any moment where they talked to you about your last name and the concept of shadow?
This is a great question, and this really touches on a pretty defining aspect of just my entire life and my entire story. Is that while my parents did a great job in raising me, and they raised me very consciously, they're great parents, they're great people. They were not conscious they were conscious of what it's like to be them, but they were not conscious of what it's like to be in the shadow of them, right? And I think that's nothing against them. I mean, they're in their position. They're dealing with all sorts of factors being in their position. You can't see what you don't see, right? So, because that's an entirely different position to be in the shadow.
What a point,
right? So you don't know what you don't know, right? So they weren't necessarily capable of providing me. They provided me a lot of guidance in raising me, but they weren't capable of providing me guidance in these areas of me just trying to figure out how to navigate these waters of being in this shadow of this fame and being on the periphery of it, but that had nothing to do with me, right? It had nothing to do with me. I'm just a fucking kid trying to I know that I've been dealt some cards, and I'm just trying to figure out how to play them, and I have no fucking idea how to do it. And I the only way I learned is through, fucking up. Is through playing them fucking terribly, playing my hand terribly over and over and over and over again, right? And that's pretty much that's kind of like my story right there.
Was he on the road a lot?
What leads me to today, right?
Was he on the road a lot? Were they acting on the road thing or not really? It's not as many road.
My dad did work a lot, but we traveled with him.
Okay,
really. I never felt like, oh, my dad's not around.
Oh, that's sick.
I never felt that way. Wow. Like, oh, like my dad didn't show up to my fucking baseball game. Like, no, none of that. My parents were there. They were always there. Right. It was just my struggle wasn't in any lack of, my relationship with my parents. My struggle was my own struggle in trying to navigate the waters of the world with this in this shadow and on this periphery of this fame, this huge focal point, right? That really had nothing to do with me. right? It had nothing to do with me, but I was a proxy of it, right? And this is where I go, and this is the defining story of my life, right? And trying to navigate these waters, because the nature of those waters, is an entirely different beast than the nature of the waters when you're a focal point because of your prestige that you've earned, right? When you are a focal point and you're a GOAT, like you said, for the work and your talent that you've earned in navigating the waters of the world as that, right? That's an entirely different scenario than navigating the waters of the world for someone who's a proxy of that prestige and that focal point, but it's just there because they were born in it, not because they did anything to earn it. Mm-hmm. That, right? So like the reason why I say that was a, struggle for me is because, God, I mean, there are so many paradoxes, it's just like mind-boggling paradoxes is the nature of what I'm talking about. What I mean by that is, this is the ultimate paradox, right? Is that my entire life, people have always thought, when I walk into a room, okay? A 14-year-old Chet walks into a room. 12-year-old Chet walks into a room. Okay, not me. Now I'm like a public figure and people know me for me. But take it back before then, before anyone knew me. Okay, 14-year-old Chet walks into a room. No one knows anything about me. All they know is that I'm Tom Hanks' son.
Yeah, there's going to be immediate assumptions.
Okay. The assumption, right? The number one assumption that people make is, number one, I must live the life of like Richie Rich.
Spoiled rich kid.
Spoiled rich brat. Number two, the assumption is, I think that I'm better than everyone in the room. That I feel that I truly think that I'm superior to every single person in that room.
You're a 14-year-old kid with a target on his back before you even step in the room.
Before I even step in the room. And the truth was that both of those things couldn't have been farther from the truth. I wasn't spoiled. I was blessed. I was privileged, right? But I wasn't spoiled. There's a big difference. I was privileged because I got to go to good schools. I got a great education. I had a loving family. I didn't have to work. I had I got to, travel and do cool shit, right? But I wasn't spoiled. It wasn't like, here's your black card, go run crazy, do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? Here's a freaking, Bentley for your 16th birthday. Okay. You know what I mean? None of that.
What's the most expensive gift you ever got? Just so people know. Did you ever get like a brand new BMW M5, M3?
No.
Did you?
When I turned 16, my first car was a used PT Cruiser, a 2002 PT Cruiser.
I remember the PT Cruiser.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was thankful to have that car.
But by the way, I assume this was all done intentionally.
I was thankful to have that car because otherwise I would have to ride the school bus. Okay. So it wasn't like I was stoked on the PT Cruiser.
Can you show what a PT Cruiser looks like? Because I know exactly what this looks like. I liked the PT Cruiser at the time.
Killing the game.
Going back to it, when you're going through that, by the way, that's the PT Cruiser.
What color was it?
It was black.
It was black.
At
least it wasn't purple.
Killing the game, Chet.
But when you're going through it, I
build character.
I watched a couple things. So a couple movies was very interesting to watch. That while you're talking about this, it took me there. One is Mark Wahlberg and Jennifer Aniston, Rockstar. Do you remember the movie, have you seen The Rockstar, between the two of them? So he's just a regular guy. All of a sudden, boom, he blows up. And, the wives are in another, bus and they're on another bus. And what happens on that bus? Don't worry about it. You're a rock star's wife now. It's a different life. You have to understand what he's going to be doing. One day they wake up. You got 20 people. You remember that one scene when they're waking? I was like, what the hell just happened last night? Babe, I don't know what happened last night. But why are all these naked people laying around, right? You don't know what's going to happen in that world. And then Justin Bieber had this one song that came out a couple of years ago. I know I just went from Mark Wahlberg to Justin Bieber. It was called Lonely. Have you put this one up? 2021. He came out with this last year. I don't know if you've heard the words or not.
It's a slow song, yeah, of course.
But you watch this, And lonely is, he's telling, it's a kid himself. If you go to images, forget about the words, go to the images real quick. And I like what he does with this because it took me there. Zoom in. So that's himself when he's a young star coming up. Nobody knows what struggles he's going through. And everyone's just like, hey, okay, you're going to be up in 10 minutes. You ready? Go ahead. And then he goes on, he sells the tickets, money's being made. But they don't know, like he's trying to say, I've been lonely this entire time, right? As a Justin Bieber, can't do shit right. If you go to the lyrics, there's something he says in a line about, I couldn't do shit right. Go back. There's a line. I don't know what. Zoom in a little bit. Nobody comes to me because no one's listening. I'm so lonely. Everybody, there's something. Keep going down. Everybody and everybody saw me sick, and if no one knew, they criticized me. Things that I did. An idiot kid. Right? And he's explaining, look, man, I'm a kid, I screwed up, but this is what it felt like. In life, we get to pick who we marry. We get to pick our friends. We get to choose our career. We don't get to choose our parents, and we don't get to choose our kids. We don't. Those are two things we don't choose, which means God chose your parents for you, and God chose you as a kid for them. You know, but a lot of times when you're a Tom Hanks, this is why, like in the documentary Captain, when Derek Jeter is speaking, the one person that's in documentary the entire time, you know who it is in the Captain documentary? I don't know if you had a chance to watch the Captain documentary.
I haven't.
Michael Jordan's in the documentary. And Michael Jordan says, around me, Derek can be comfortable and loose because we don't judge. And around Derek, we feel comfortable because we're ourselves. If you notice, a lot of goats hang with each other, right?
Yeah. Tom Brady and David Beckham are like BFF.
Yeah, but why do they? Because who else is going to understand
each other?
Myself.
Right.
So for you at that time, you know, were you like friends with another goats, kids, where somebody could was there like an older guy getting a hold of you? And so you didn't have somebody like, that's got to be tough.
No.
Because do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, of course.
That's got to be tough, bro, while you're going through. Because every industry has somebody that's mentoring that guy that's going through it. Someone has to sit there with the preacher's kid and say, hey, I was also a preacher's kid. It's going to get shitty for you. Here's what you're going to deal with. Oh, my God, you understand my pain. Right. So that never happened to you.
No,
wow.
Never. And like going back to what I was saying about people felt like I was superior, that the truth was that I felt massively inferior, right? Because I couldn't understand because me walking into any room, you know what I'm saying, back to 14-year-old Chet walks into a room. Well, after enough times of walking into a room and everyone fucking hates you, right? Or there's just this animosity towards you. You can't even, it's just there.
And you feel it.
Like, right, you feel it, right? It's just there. Well, eventually you start feeling like you don't have anything to compare it to. So you're not walking in, oh, I see this person fucking hates me because of their own issues that they're projecting, right? Because of their own lack that they feel within themselves because they feel inferior. So they're projecting that onto me, right? You don't know that. You don't have anything to compare that to. You just think, why the fuck there must be something wrong with me would have all this negative attention towards me. No one likes me. I just want to be someone's friend and everyone, has it out for me, right? And I'm already a sensitive dude. I wear my heart on my sleeve, right? So for a sensitive person, like when you walk in a room and or you walk by two people and they're like, you can't tell if they looked at you or not. You think, was that person talking about me? Were they making a joke about me? And most people go, for sometimes people could say, they were, they weren't. Maybe they weren't. You know what I'm saying? 50-50. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I'm not going to trip about it. Well, in my case, usually they were. Right? Like usually they were, right? So my paranoia of constantly feeling on edge was more often than not correct, right? It was correct. So that creates a whole nother beast because now I'm trusting like just this like exponential like awareness of like social micro interactions and like resentment and negativity and gossip or you know what I mean? Just I felt like I was behind fucking enemy lines. I felt like anywhere I went, I was in hostile fucking territory, right? And that is kind of like the defining thing of kind of like what shaped me and kind of created a monster, you know. I created a whole nother beast.
What, was there no positivity? Because like
there was positivity in the
Okay.
people that I had known, that I had known since I was a little kid, right? Because I went to school and I grew up with the same kids from like preschool into up until high school, right? So it's like when you know the same kids from when
Yeah.
you're 4 years old,
They don't give a shit.
don't give
That's
a
your boy
shit,
since
you know
you're
what I'm saying. So I was always I felt I would only feel comfortable with people that I felt like really solid and had like really solid relationships with, right? And those were like my brothers that were like.
Are you
like,
still close with them till
some
today?
of them? Some of them.
Because
Yeah.
you gotta have that
more,
base.
But more, yeah. I've always had a base of boys. You know what I'm saying? Like some, you know, as I've, you know, I've through the years, you know, some people, you know, like drift away. You know, you lose touch. Some people come in because you can always. As I got older, I have realized, you know, you can tell when somebody's genuine. You know what I'm saying? I can always tell when somebody's genuine. They don't give a shit. I can spot that shit a mile away. People are really like, you don't understand. You know, people are always fucking. They don't really have it like out for your best interest. I'm like, I know. I can spot that shit a mile
Your
away.
bullshit meter must be like this.
You know what I'm
high.
saying? I can like I'm like a fucking shark. I can smell the blood like from fucking 3 miles away. I can tell when somebody's like so, and I can also tell when somebody is genuine, right? So it's like I'm very like good with that. You know what I'm saying? But
Your spidey senses.
yeah.
How do you tell them apart? You said a lot of guys want to get close to you because they're trying to get close to your dad. You know the difference between somebody that wants to get close to you because they want to have a relationship with you versus some people want to get close to you because they want to, you know, get closer to your pops. How do you know the difference between the two?
Man, it's kind of just like a sixth sense. It's hard to put in words. There's red flags, but I can't. It's hard to describe. It's a really good question. I mean, anytime it's like when someone's like talking to me, and then they're like, they say, if anytime anyone's saying like, if they just bring them up like, yeah, you should tell your dad that. I'm like, okay, yeah, for sure, yeah. I'm gonna go tell my dad. Like he doesn't know you. Why the fuck would he care about? Why the fuck would he care about that anecdote from you? You know what I'm saying? Okay, you just revealed yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that shit is like basic. You know what I'm saying? Like I would never even. That person would have never even fooled me in the first place. Do you know what I'm saying? It would have never even gotten that far for me to be like duped. Like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? It's just a sixth sense. I can smell it. I can smell it on them.
And you know, it's very
And it
common.
happens with, and of course, like with women, it's different because you know,
Women probably are more interested in you than your dad. I mean,
well, I mean, but still, like even when I was growing up in high school and shit, I could like sometimes, you know, like I was like 16 and there's like this like soup smoking hot like 20-year-old. You know what I'm saying? I'm like a little nerdy kid, but she's all interested in me. Okay, I wasn't a dipshit. I was like, okay, yeah, she's interested in me because of this, but fuck it, you know. This is something I'm cool with.
Here we go, Chet.
So-
Yeah, there is a difference between a dude being like, "Hey, bro, got an idea for you." You're like, "Yeah, I'm good on that, dog." Right? Some hot chick, especially in your 20s
You know,
and 30s, you're not a dork anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you don't like you know what you're getting yourself into, right?
Yeah.
But you know it's crazy. This whole thing about like, you know, the first impression when somebody sees him, you know, hey, this is a spoiled kid. He's this, he's that, he's this. Okay, there's a part of that has credence because even though we shouldn't judge, everybody judges. Okay, I remember a friend of mine, Fernando Lasso, and
The singer.
The singer, the famous singer from Ecuador, which, by the way, is coming down to visit Florida.
Sick.
So first time I get a job at Hollywood Bally's. Back then I was in shape, and I was like, I wanted to be, it was my life. Just got out of the Army. I walk in, he sees me, he says, well, this guy just looks like a fuck. He just looks like somebody that's arrogant, that's this, that's that. I'm going to have a hard time working with you. We became best friends. The guy was one of my groomsmen at my wedding. Some people are going to have that look, and they're going to say, you look like somebody that would be like that. Of
course.
And the next thing you know, I like this guy, right? But you know, in regards to like even James Corden, you saw what happened with James Corden recently. Did you hear about that or no? He's going to this one restaurant. Did you see how the Balthazar? No. Did you see this or no? Can you put this up so people can see it? So James Corden goes to this restaurant. James Corden goes to this restaurant, and
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. James Corden goes to this restaurant and he starts chewing out the waitress and a waiter twice. So the owner of the restaurant, you didn't hear about this?
No.
Post the Instagram post of what the owner said. Put that up and let's read that first, the first one, before he goes to the second one. It's classic. This is why sometimes stars get a bad reputation because of stories like this that gets revealed. And people finally say, you know what, I don't want to deal with this Hollywood star. He's a headache. I pulled him over one time. He was so rude to me as a cop. You can't find it. Oh, my God. You got to find to see it. Okay, right there. Right there. Click on that one. And then go to the first one he posted because it's a couple of them. That's the owner of the restaurant. Keep going down. Let's just see if he removed it or not. Okay, first one right there. Click on that. Zoom in. Did this sermon restaurant? Okay, he removed it.
Give me just a minute.
Yeah, he has another one. Anyway, so he says to him, let me find it here. You have to see this one. James Corden, restaurant owner. So
James Corden's in trouble right now?
Oh my! But you should have seen what happened to the point
trouble?
where he's not in big trouble at all. There's nothing about it that is. Here you go. I just found it. I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to send it to you and I'm going to read it. So he goes to this restaurant and he's having dinner, and it's a very, very famous restaurant in New York. Okay. So the owner comes out and he posts, he says, James Corden is a hugely gifted comedian, but a tiny cretin of a man and the most abusive customer to my Balthazar services since the restaurant opened 25 years ago. Damn. I don't often 66 a customer, but today I'd 66'd Corden. It did not make me laugh. Here are two examples of the funny man treatment of my staff. Manager report number 1. In June, James Corden was here on table 61. He's been very detailed. Damn. Although this diabolical, it happens very occasionally in all restaurants. After eating his main course, Corden showed the hair to Balthazar manager G, who was very apologetic. Corden was extremely nasty to G and said, get us another round of drinks this second. And also, take care of all of our drinks so far. This way I write any nasty reviews to Yelp or anything like that. He says, manager's report number 2. James Corden was at Balthazar with his wife on October 9th for brunch. He asked for a table outside. Brunch maitre d', Allie Walters, took the party to table 301. Mr. Corden's wife ordered an egg yolk omelet with cheese and salad. A few minutes later, they received the food. James called their server and told her that there was a little bit of egg white mixed with egg yolk and informed the floor manager the kitchen remade the dish, but unfortunately sent it with home fries instead of salad. That's when James Corden began yelling like crazy to the server, you don't do your job. You don't do your job. Maybe I should go into the kitchen and cook the omelet myself. And then MK, the waitress, was very apologetic and brought Corden over the table. He returned the dish, and after that, everything was fine. He gave them promo champagne glass to smooth things out, and Corden was pleasant to him but nasty to the server, who was shaken by it, but professional that she admitted she decided to continue. Anyways, so the owner posts this, who owns this restaurant.
Yeah.
2 days later, he posts another one, and he gets a call from Corden. And Corden calls him, very apologetic. He says, I have to post this now. He called. He was very apologetic. He was sincere about it, and I have decided to remove his suspension, and he can come back to the restaurant. And apparently yesterday, Corden on his late show addressed this in a very interesting way. He addressed this yesterday. So there's a reason why sometimes New York restaurant feels really sorry for James Corden after exposing him, and now he's feeling sorry about it because everyone's talking about this. But you hear these types of stories, how Hollywood stars sometimes go places and they feel like they're entitled. That's the biggest thing, the feeling entitlement. So apparently with you, and by the way, that whole story you were talking about how you would go places and people were looking and one day you're like, screw it, I'm going to be this person when he came out of the camp. It's almost like Kobe Bryant when he was being judged constantly, and I'm not making a comparison to the late Kobe Bryant in basketball. It's the mindset. If you think I'm evil, I'm going to be evil. If you think I am this bad guy, guess what? I'm going to play this role, and I'm going to play it naturally. I'm going to give it to you, Black Mamba. So psychologically, it almost forces you to play that card. It's very hard to want to play a different role, then you kind of also almost want to retaliate because you're being judged for no reason. I can see that happening.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see that happen. So going back to the beginning when we started talking about this stuff, you went right into the politics. You talked about Biden. You think things are really good right now. You think things are really okay right now with what's going on with politics. Are you saying that
What do you mean?
When you were talking about how California is a mess?
I think it's a mess.
Yeah, you said California is a mess. Homelessness, drugs. You see syringes everywhere.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, and then I said to you, Biden got 81 million votes, and you're like, you're thinking it's good? Tell me what part of the economy is good?
Well, I mean, I think back then too. I mean, it was like 2020 hindsight, right? Because that was before. I mean, it was still COVID was still happening, but it wasn't like in full swing, right? The vaccine hadn't come out yet. There was no vaccine controversy, right? It was just all the crazy shit Trump was saying, which I still disagree with. I think he could have been a much better president if he had just been a little bit more kind or courteous, like in how he phrased things, and not being so divisive. But I also kind of look back on it and see how the media also had a big part to play in that, and just stirring up the pot constantly. So just looking back on things, but like I said, 2020 hindsight, but it's just unfortunate. I think the whole thing is unfortunate. I think our entire political climate is unfortunate. Like, I think it's unfortunate that people have to choose between two extremes. I think that most people, at least most people I know, feel the same way I do. Everything I just said, they agree with me, right? Most people I know, most people I talk to on the street, complete strangers, agree with me. You know what I'm saying? But why aren't we allowed to say this? I'm not allowed to say this? Well, fuck it. I'm going to say it anyway. Right? Why aren't we allowed to say this? It's an opinion.
Yeah, I think opinions, obviously, everyone can have that. However,
because I just from me voicing an opinion, a complete, and like I said, I'm fucking moderate, dude. Right? I'm moderate. I'm a moderate, rational person. But just from me saying anything that doesn't fit into the fucking left, like everything that they encapsulate, I'm just me having this rational conversation is like an extreme in this point. Right? Like, this can be viewed, just me having the audacity to say the fucking truth is labeled as an extreme opinion. What's extreme about it? What's extreme about saying, wow, LA has gone to shit. Look at all these other cities. The same thing. It's not just LA. LA has gone to shit. They're allowing open hardcore drug usage on the streets, tent cities to build up. They're forcing people to get vaccines. They're pushing an agenda of fucking fear. Let's make everybody as fucking afraid as possible. Meanwhile, they're forcing people to wear masks. Okay? Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom's at the fucking Rams game. He doesn't have a fucking mask on. Then the picture, this is on like fucking what, a year of this mask mandate? He's all chilling with no mask on. Then when that picture started to catch heat, then okay, they lift the masks. Convenient, right? Because you got caught being a fucking hypocrite, forcing all these people to wear fucking masks for over a year. And you don't even fucking believe it yourself, right? Because you're at the fucking Rams game without a mask on. Then once the heat gets on, okay, now it's safe to wear masks. Yeah, okay, right? The tents, the homelessness everywhere. I feel bad for those people, okay? I have sympathy. My heart goes out to those people. But at what point does the city just go, hey, you got to get this shit out of here? You got to move these tents somewhere else. If you don't, we're giving you this much time to get your shit and leave. If you don't, we're going to bulldoze it.
If you had to go back, would you change your vote, or you'd still vote for Biden?
I've never voted before in my life.
You've never voted before?
I've never voted.
Why? You don't think you have impact as one person, or why haven't you? I can't see in the family.
A little bit of both.
You don't think your vote has...
I mean, I know that's like not cool, It's not cool. It's a privilege to vote. People die for our right to vote. I've just never voted.
But also in California, your vote's almost irrelevant.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've never cared enough to actually fucking register and go down in the polls and do all that. I've never voted. You know, I also just fucking hate politics, which is funny because it doesn't seem like it right now.
Yeah, exactly. You're very
Right?
outspoken. But Chet,
But I fucking hate politics.
Let me push back a little bit, brother, because you're very outspoken. You have very hardcore beliefs. You're not shy at all. Voting kind of gives you the right to be vocal. If you don't vote, that's your right to be vocal.
I'm not proud of that.
How do you grapple with that?
I'm not proud of the fact that I've never voted. Maybe I will vote this next time. But that's the truth. I haven't. I've never voted for anybody in my life, for anything. I just got my opinions. I just have my voice.
Yeah.
But I feel like your voice is more important than the vote. I feel like if more people started using their fucking voice, then, we might not be so restricted.
Well, I don't know about that, bro, because if everyone just talked shit but didn't vote, then we wouldn't have an election.
Yeah, I see your point. I see your point. I mean, I ideally, you should use your voice and vote.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if you have strong opinions like the ones you do. Especially if you're saying because what you just said is not very popular in the state you're in. And by the way, what's keeping you in California? Why are you still staying in California?
It's my home. It's my home. I'm not going anywhere else. It's my home.
What needs to happen there for you to leave? Nothing?
Fuck.
I mean, I'm from Iran, bro, and that's my home. But I'm in U.S. right now, so I can see a lot of people who are immigrants in U.S. who were born elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever leave. I love L.A. I love L.A.
But when you see what Garcetti and Newsom are doing, there must be some point where you're like, all right, homeless everywhere, mandates everywhere, just shit on the streets.
Yeah.
This is getting annoying.
Yeah.
Wokeism.
Yeah.
At some point, you're like, all right.
Yeah.
Like if someone does this, like you always do this, like do this, do this. At some point, you're going to spaz out and freak out,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
There must be a tipping point at some point.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm just hoping that shit gets better.
Maybe if you voted.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's valid. That's valid. You know what I'm saying? You're checking me a little bit. But you're right. Honestly, right? Because it's a privilege to fucking vote, and I've never utilized it. So I appreciate that.
Here's what's going to happen when you vote. Whether you vote left or right, you're going to walk in the booth, and other than president, vice president, governor, there's going to be
All the props and shit. Yeah.
dude. Good luck reading that. Good luck understanding that. I'm a pretty educated, well-versed person. And I struggle understanding these voting amendments, whatever they are, propositions, struggle.
Yeah.
So if you're the average person and the way that they word these bills and amendments and propositions, you don't know what the hell you're walking into.
Yeah.
So imagine you're the average person. You're just checking left, right, up, down. Now you're voting for justices and Congress people you've never heard of and director of agriculture. You're just checking fucking boxes.
Yeah. It's crazy. I never had any intention of speaking on anything politically coming up here today. But that's how it happened.
Out of nowhere, right off the bat.
Yeah, I had no intention. I try to avoid politics, but if it happens naturally, then
The older you get, the more it matters. The older, especially you got a daughter. I mean, you got a family now, so. The way you vote impacts. Is there anybody in mind you have that if they ran in 2024 that would earn your vote?
I have no idea.
You're not following any of it?
I'm not following anything.
None of it, really? Okay, so did you see what happened?
I just go off what I see. You know what I'm saying? I just go off of what I see, and I call a spade a spade.
Can I ask you a question, guys? You're a hip hop guy, yeah?
Sure.
I mean, you had a hit song,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
L.A. You're seeing what's going on with Kanye these days. Okay, the guy's talking about, having opinions. Sometimes extreme opinions have extreme consequences. You see what's happening with Kanye. Adidas just dropped him. This is after you saw the sign on the 404 on the highway basically saying, we stand with Kanye.
404 or 405?
405, I apologize.
Different freeway, 404.
My bad.
Yeah, 405.
Okay. Kanye is right about the Jews, these anti-Semitism things. He said he's going to go DEFCON 3 on Jews. I mean, you're talking about Kanye here, who basically, look, I boil it down to music, business, and life. So if you factor in music as someone who understands hip hop and has done music, like his music, in my opinion, he was on GOAT status. His music has gone downhill over the last 5 years or so since graduation and all that good stuff. Donda album and Life of Pablo, not exactly lighting up the charts as previous albums. Or review from Coachella, removed from Rolling Loud. CAA dropped him. Def Jam dropped him. Now Adidas is dropping him. He doesn't no longer work with the Gap. Vogue, Balenciaga, the list goes on. And then you couple that with the fact that, everything that happened with Kim, his kids, his mom passed away, depression, bipolar. Like, all he has left is, at the seams, is he bought Parler and he's doubling down on White Lives Matter and doubling down on MAGA. It just seems like he's fucking losing it. I'm not sure if this is a cry for help. I'm not sure if this is like, he's just like burning all bridges. Like, it just seems he's going down the tubes, in my opinion. And this is someone that I had the utmost respect for years ago, but he's losing it. And he's doubling down on anti-Semitism in Hollywood. Anyway, I'm just teeing this up for a conversation as someone who's white. Your wife is, or your ex is black.
I'm not married.
No, your ex, you have a half black, half white, just like him. You're in hip hop. Point is, you're in LA. You're around this culture. You must have some opinions on what Kanye's got going on right now.
I honestly haven't been paying attention to it
At all.
No. I mean, no. I mean, it seems like there's always something going on with him. So it's like, what else is new?
You're just tuning it out.
Can you zoom into that other article you went into? Go into the other article. So zoom into that. I want to see what it's saying on the bottom of it. Is that CNN? Yeah. Zoom in right there what it says under the picture to see how they're describing that picture right there. Zoom in a little bit more. A photograph shared on verified campaign Twitter account of LA mayor candidate Kevin Bass shows a group of demonstrators with banners showing support for rapper Kanye West recently anti-Semitic remarks on a LA freeway overpass Saturday. CNN has blurred a portion of the image that included a reference to a website with anti-Semitic content. So what is the reference of the way they're having their hands being held? Are they waving at the cars going by, or are they saying...
Those are neo-Nazis, Pat. These are neo-Nazis giving
Wait. Are you being serious?
What do you mean?
No. But are you being serious that you believe that?
Yes.
So you're being serious to believe.
What are these guys doing? Do you think they're waving at cars in that picture?
God, you are.
Those are.
You're just as much part of the problem.
Tell me what that means.
Listen. Do you understand how easy it is for me to pay $100 to each of these people to go stand there and put their hands up, and I give you $100? Do that for 30 seconds. Let me just get the picture. Go home.
Are you saying that's what's happening?
All I'm saying to you is you can't be that naive and not be skeptical to think that during election time anything's being used to divide the hell out of America.
That's a different story.
No, it's not a different story.
You're saying this is a political prop?
All I'm saying to you is this image, what this does is it creates emotion, okay, which is what it just did to you. And it's meant to do that, so it won. Now, you can't sit there and say, I don't really know if these people are actors or they're real.
Who the fuck would take that acting job?
Who the fuck wouldn't take $100 right now to go
$100 to go pretend you're a neo-Nazi?
Do you know what you can get for $100 nowadays?
Stop it, Pat.
Wait, by the way, you have to understand this.
What?
If you fully believe that they're standing there doing this, defending Kanye, a black man, neo-Nazis are defending. Do you realize how dumb that is to even believe that?
That has nothing to do with Kanye. It has the fact that he is supporting anti-Semitism.
No, it's not.
Which
that,
is what these people stand for.
So neo-Nazis would support a Kanye's philosophy. Okay,
if it's anti-Judaism and it's anti-Zionist,
I'm not here.
Pro-hate.
I'm not here.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I'm not defending Kanye. I'm not defending the opposition. All I'm saying to you is, pictures produce emotions, and these people in politics are brilliant. If they want to defame anybody, there are so many creative ways to do it. This is one of them that produces emotion out of someone like you, and then you have to go out there and say, Kanye has lost his mind and he's doing X, Y, Z.
Pat,
that's what the position has to be. Pat, what?
There's two separate things that are going on here.
Yeah.
There's whatever Kanye's doing.
Yeah.
Whatever he's doing.
Sure.
Anti-Semitism, DEFCON 3, talking shit. Adidas will not cancel me. Adidas will not cancel me.
That's a different discussion we'll get into here in a minute.
This is my point.
Sure.
Those are two nuanced discussions.
Yeah.
Adidas will not cancel me. I can say anything I want. Well, turns out Adidas just did cancel you, homie. Turns out what you're saying does have repercussions.
What does that have to do with this picture? Don't change subject. Stay on this picture
Pat,
here.
I said specifically I'm going to make 2 points.
Give it to me.
That was point one.
Okay.
Point two, people have eyeballs. People have eardrums. They're seeing what Kanye's saying.
Yeah.
These fucking scumbag neo-Nazis, I don't believe they're political pawns. I actually believe they didn't get paid $100 to go do a Sikh Heil. I actually think they're taking a message and amplifying it and showing up in LA.
You're part of the problem.
I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, you know why you're part of the problem?
Please tell me why.
You want me to really tell you
Yeah,
why you're part
tell
of the
me why.
problem? Okay, what is the whole premise behind innocent people before proven guilty, right? Okay, versus guilty until proven innocent. Okay. You know how many
Let's see more images
You
of
know
this.
how many times you ever seen these pictures that show media's manipulation showing someone getting stabbed, and then you open up the picture and you're like, oh shit, I didn't see this. How many times an angle of a picture like this looks like they're flipping them off and they turn it around, they're like this. Do you know how many ways there is to produce emotion out of people like you to say what you just said, and everyone's going to sit there and say, oh my God, I can't believe that's what happened, and I freaking hate Kanye. You know, this guy's a this. Relax, guys, relax. You don't have all the intel. I don't have all the intel. This could be right, but it also could be wrong. For me to say 100% this is wrong or 100% this is right, I am naive. I refuse to be naive and manipulated by the same damn media that divided America over the last 6 years. And now their ratings suck because people figure their shit out. That's what I'm not willing to do.
Okay.
I think you're like bringing up a really good point, because this is my take, right? Is that like somebody could come in here right now and say, hey, Chet, your family drinks adrenochrome. You do this, that, and the third. You guys you call me every name in the book. Yeah. They could say the most fucking vile shit to me imaginable, right? And I could go, okay, that's your opinion, right? I don't need to go rally and create an entire campaign to like ruin this fucking person who I don't give a fuck about.
These guys are pros, though.
Because he stated an opinion, right? Like fucking Andrew Tate, right? Okay. You asked me, hey, how do you feel about Andrew Tate, right? Well, if I say I like Andrew Tate, then I get classified as like a misogynist. If I say I don't like Andrew Tate, then I'm completely denying all the intelligent things that man has to say. Here's the fact, okay? Do I agree with every single thing that he says? Does he have some hot takes? Yeah, he's got some hot takes, okay? But here's what people don't understand is that, like, if you want to make an impact, you have to be polarizing, right? That's the reason why he achieved so much success, because he was polarizing, right? That's why his message is even a part of the public spheres, because he's polarizing. You have to shake people up a little bit, right? But no matter what he says, I'm not taking it personally, right? How hard is it to allow a person to speak their mind about anything and not want to then like just go completely start an entire like blackball it. It's like the Salem witch trials. Anybody can say anything, and I'm not going to fucking crucify them for stating their opinion, even if I don't agree with it, right? Like what happened to this? What happened to this quality of allowing someone to just say an opinion or anything that's on their mind, with then having to crucify them if you disagree with them? Do you know what I'm saying?
I know fully what you're saying, and I'm fully with it. All I'm saying is, to folks out there, is don't be naive to jump to conclusion in what these guys do. Listen, if there's anybody right now, Adam, tell me who, and this goes to everybody. When it goes to Kanye West, we're going to go back to Kanye West here in a minute. Tell me who has high credibility right now, low credibility right now. Who's trusted today? So let's go through. I'll ask the question. Give me a score for them from 0 to 10. Hang on, I'm going to ask you the question. You give me the answer from 0 to 10. Pastors, 0 to 10. Pastors, let me change the word. Priests, not pastors. High or low?
Not as high as they could have been or should have been.
Okay, all right, let's go to the next one. How about I don't know, college football coaches. Do they make positive impacts or negative impacts in kids' lives?
For the most part, positive.
Okay, cool. How about military, generals?
Positive.
Positive. How about politicians?
Very negative.
Very negative. Okay. How about the media?
Not trustworthy.
How about billionaires?
In reality, trustworthy. According to a lot of people, untrustworthy.
Got it. So, but in reality, they're creating jobs. Okay.
I agree.
How about social media virtual governments?
Good, bad, positive, negative, all the above at once.
Okay. How about universities, colleges, our current educational system?
Has skewed way too far left.
Out of everything I just said to you, which one of those has the least credibility today?
Politicians.
And then? I would put one before politicians. I would put one before politicians. You know who it is?
Virtual governments?
No, it's media.
Media? Okay.
I would put media doesn't have credibility today. Okay?
Absolutely.
So for me,
100% agree.
for me to sit there and see by the way, I just sent you a couple different things. I want you to see this. So here's what I want you to look at. Okay? Here's what I want you to look at. I'm going to send you these pictures, and I'm going to do an airdrop. And Tyler, if you can pull these up. Okay, that's one of them. Perfect. That's exactly one of them I was sending to you. Zoom in a little bit so people can see it. From this angle, looks like he's flipping them off. From the other angle, looks like what? So guess which one's going to get more eyeballs? Why would I use the picture on the right? Use the picture on the left. Mm-hmm. People are going to look at that article more. Okay, go to the next one I just sent you. Okay, go to the next one I just sent you. Okay? Go to the next one I just sent you. The image I just sent you. Look at this one here. Can you make it, are you getting it or should I just text it to you? Tyler, did you get it or no? Yeah, I'm pulling it up. Okay.
Yeah. I would like to see how the media, back to the neo-Nazi thing in LA. I'd like to, if you're right, I will gladly on air say that I was wrong.
Define right, though. No, but define right. When I say if I'm right, what is right? Okay. What am I saying to be right? What was my point of being right?
You're saying that possibly the media manipulated this story of neo-Nazis.
I'm right.
You're 100% right?
I'm 100% right that possibly they could use that. But
you're also 100% wrong, potentially.
No.
Like maybe they were actually neo-Nazis.
No, you're 100% wrong. You're 100% wrong. Because you're saying definitely that's neo-Nazis. You're 100% wrong. What I'm saying is this could possibly be wrong. And we have to understand, look at this here, the TV. You look at that image right there. It looks like a guy stabbing another guy. But you look at the picture, it doesn't look like a guy stabbing. The other guy stabbing this guy. We cannot be this naive today, man.
So when will we find out the truth then?
Dude, some shit takes 30 years to find out. What are you talking about? Russia took 3.5 years. Iran, what happened with Iran took us 30 years for CIA come out with movies to tell us what really happened with U.S.'s involvement in Kissinger, Carter, all that. It took us 30 years to figure some of this stuff out.
Yeah, but this is a little more black and white.
But it's not the point because these are professionals. You have to understand when you're going up against professionals, you're an amateur compared to mainstream media. These guys wake up in the morning saying, how the hell can I get you to get pissed off and produce emotions? That's their job.
Yeah.
That's what they do. By the way, rappers, hip-hop artists, what song produced emotions? Give me one hip-hop song that produced such emotion that we played it when we were working out in the 90s. What was the song?
Hit 'em Up.
Hit 'em Up produced emotion.
Yeah.
Tupac knew what he was doing. It produced emotions. We're like, hell yeah. Okay, what other song by Bone Thugs and Harmony produced emotions? We're not against rap. We're not against rappers, but we are against those thugs. And we're like, oh my God. This is sick. You wanted to work out to that album, Mo Murda and all these guys, right? You have to know these are professionals. They're professionals, and we can't constantly see stuff. So now let's go back to Kanye. Can you go back to that article with Adidas? Do you know how much Adidas lost yesterday for dropping him? Does anybody know how much they lost?
200 million?
5% of 5% was a drop off. So zoom in a little bit. Let's read some of this data that we have here. Adidas terminates partnership with Kanye following rappers' anti-Semitic remarks. The German sportswear giant had faced pressure from public and its own employees to cut ties. Adidas said that they would have a short-term negative impact of 250 million euros on net income in 2022 due to highly seasonality in the fourth quarters. Talent agency CAA confirmed it has dropped Kanye as a client Monday, and he was let go by What's that one? I can't see it. Can you zoom in?
CAA.
CIA.
CAA.
CAA last week. Okay, so stock.
That's
right.
Creative Artists Agency.
It's one of the biggest ones. Them, WMA.
Yeah.
I think it's like a couple of those guys up there.
Yeah.
All right. So guess what? Adidas supported Colin Kaepernick. Stock went up. I'm sorry. Nike supported
did.
Colin Kaepernick. Stock went up the next day. Adidas drops Kanye. Stock goes down. We can still see Adidas being right for the decision they made for dropping Kanye and his positions. The part with Kanye that he kept doing, there's a phrase I use when I say, saint status. Saint status is like when he was talking and saying certain things and he was talking about politics in California, all I thought about is, does this affect his dad's career? And I said, not really, because he's in saint status. It's Tom Hanks. Like, hey, listen, man, Tom Hanks is in a movie. Guess what you and I are doing on Friday night? We're watching Tom Hanks, period. You got to line up with what? We got Saving Private Ryan, one of the most emotional movies of my life because I joined the Army, Hunter and Friends, and they said there's a movie coming out. You're going to be the first to see it before the world sees it. We sat there. We cried like a little freaking baby at the end saying, did I make my life count? And his wife's looking at him saying, it's okay, babe. You were in tears. These guys are going to save this guy's life, Saving Private Ryan. Because what? Because he's the only one that's left to continue. You got all these other movies that
Forrest
he did,
Gump,
right? Forrest
Big,
Gump,
Toy Story, Catch
right.
Me If You Can, Saving Private Ryan, Sleeping in Seattle, League of Their Own.
He's uncancelable.
He is. He's not freaking Tom Hanks, this guy.
But he is in that status of GOAT status. I watched Black Adam this weekend.
For music.
He is. I watched Black Adam this weekend.
With The Rock?
Guess what song is in Black Adam?
What song?
Kanye's song. I think it's called Power. Yeah.
Well, the Facebook song or the social network
the
song.
movie. Talk about timing. You come out with that movie. In a way, you're kind of supporting his song at a time like this. Black Adam just came out this weekend, and the main song, one of the main songs in the movie is his. This guy's one of the greatest artists we ever had, but he thinks they can't touch him. He's untouchable. Well, unfortunately, they're going to keep doing this to him.
A conversation that we continually have here is how do you remove the art from the artist, right? Whether that's R. Kelly, whether it's Michael Jackson, whether it's freaking Kanye now.
You can't compare those three, put them in the same category. This guy didn't.
A lot of people would put him in that hip-hop category.
Of talent or
in hip-hop, Kanye is on GOAT Mountain.
Oh, not with what they did with their personal lives.
I'm just saying, art and artistry. I'm just saying, separating the two. Whether it's whatever the issue is, whether it's Picasso, whether it's Michael Jackson, whatever.
Michael Jackson and R. Kelly's issues are different than Kanye's issues, bro. You can't put those. He would be offended if you compared those three together.
Well, the point is, like, I'm separating the musical talent from the personal life of the person, which seems to be in a downward spiral.
Not Michael Jackson, R. Kelly status, buddy. It's like you trying to compare some father TV dads with Bill Cosby. No, Bill Cosby was a mess. So the personal what Bill Cosby did is a different story of what he was being accused for. This guy's just being accused for saying words that are offensive. Not what R. Kelly did. Not what Michael Jackson's being accused of. Parents would come over and the kids would go upstairs saying he's going to play with them, and the parents are downstairs eating food and hanging out. That's kind of weird.
Fair point. I'm just saying, musically gifted. As a person, it seems like he is in a goddamn free fall.
Well, this is like what I was kind of trying to touch on earlier, right? Like, I really don't know what Kanye said or didn't say, so I can't really speak on it. Obviously, anti-Semitism is terrible. Obviously, everybody should love everybody. Obviously, like gross generalizations on any group of people is the epitome of ignorance. But I don't know what Kanye said. I also know that the media, you could say, it's a nice breeze today, and the media will somehow skew it as saying you're in the middle of a fucking hurricane. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is what you're saying, because I've experienced that myself, right? Like when I did the Jamaican accent, right? Nobody, like, I was the one on my phone, like, reading the comments, okay? What I noticed when that happened is that it was an outpouring of love, like pure love from Jamaicans, okay? It was incredible. Like, Jamaicans, people were commenting, messaging me in patois, giving me so much love and respect because they knew that I was showing love to their culture. right? It was an outpouring of love and support from actual Jamaicans. Meanwhile, it was on CNN. It was on CNN that I did the Jamaican accent, and they labeled me as mocking Jamaican culture and being a cultural appropriator, right? So it's completely. I've noticed personally, and I've been personally offended by the way the media can attack people and make a fucking a mockery of the truth, right? So I've seen that firsthand. Right, and I took it personally. I took it personally because I said that's not fucking true. Jamaicans, people from Jamaica, are giving me the most love, and you're talking about all these social justice warriors that are labeling me a villain for doing the accent. So like, what's the fucking? There's a huge bridge here between the truth and what the media is portraying. That's a fact. All right, so. I think that's what you were speaking on, Patrick, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to a point where. So first of all, the comment he made is the following comment. Okay, Kanye West says he'll go DEFCON 3 on Jews, and now remove tweet. Zoom in. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jews also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone, whoever opposes your agenda. Okay, first of all, when you're saying I'm a bit sleepy tonight, you should have just slept instead of just tweeting that comment out. Having said that, Elon Musk called him and they had a conversation together. I don't know if you guys know this or not. Type in Elon Musk called Kanye West and he told him, hey, you may want to kind of, in other words, just chill on what you're saying here. Here we go. Zoom in so we can read this one here. Elon Musk says he spoke to Kanye West about anti-Semitic tweet. Go a little lower. So Elon Musk revealed on Twitter Monday night. Okay, actually, let's read his tweet. Okay. Welcome back to Twitter, my friend. Talked to ye today and expressed my concern about his recent tweet, which I think he took to heart. Okay, cool. There you have it. Hey, you said something bad. Let's talk to you. Don't say that again, man. You're offending people. What is that all about? What were you thinking when you tweeted that out? And then you move on. This will not be the last time a human being said something dumb. And we will also say things dumb. And when you say something dumb, you're going to want to hope people remember how forgiving you were to not put the standards of walking on water, because then you're going to want some people to say, hey, like you remember when Cuomo was getting canceled and Andrew Cuomo was getting canceled and everybody was coming after him? And he was bashing Trump for what he did. And then stories came about Andrew Cuomo. And you're like, oh, man, you acted like a saint until now the stories are being talked about you. And now you made Trump look like the idiot. And now you're the one that's actually being canceled and fired as a governor where you have to resign because of what you did. Dude, you may want to judge a little bit less. We're in a society where we jump to conclusion. We want to judge everybody we hate. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm not a LeBron James fan. Period. I don't like his policies. But I have to tell you, I have to understand that this guy was raised without a father to make it where he's at today, where his kids love him, his sons admire him, and they want to be like him when they grow up. And he named his kid LeBron, and his son decided to change his name to Bronny, and he was okay with that, and they're still best friends. I don't like this guy's politics, but man, you got to respect this guy as a father. So we have to sit there and say, dude, I don't agree with you, but I don't want to judge you. I don't want to, because if I'm judging you, I'm expecting myself to be perfect, and I'm God, and you're not. And so
that was my point. Is that what's so hard about refraining from judging a person just because of an opinion that they share? It's like taking every single opinion that someone says as like a personal attack. This is like the normal now. Every single person is walking around on any public figure that they don't even fucking know, on anything that comes out of their mouth, they take it personally. This is a personal attack on me, and I have a right to be offended, and I have a right to join the crusade to fucking cancel you, right? Whereas you could just not give a fuck. What's so hard about not giving a fuck? What's so hard about saying, I don't fucking know that person, so I can't judge them. I haven't met them. I haven't fucking shook their hand. I haven't looked them in the eye before. I don't know who they are. All I know is about a fucking word that some words that came out of their mouth. That's not enough criteria for me to make a judgment on this person as a fucking person, right? This is my opinion, because like this is what I was saying with Andrew Tate. This is what happened to Andrew Tate, right? He got canceled as being as people making assumptions about his character when they don't fucking know his character, right? Because somebody can say any do I agree with everything that he said about like women and shit? No. Am I personally offended by anything he said? No, because I don't know him, right? But like I also see that he's a smart man. He's extremely intelligent. He has a massively successful business, online business. And then you start seeing like, how did he do that? Well, one of the reasons how he did that is by being polarizing. You have to being polarizing is an asset in order to stand out on the internet and social media. If 50% of people love you and 50% of people hate you, that's a pretty good ratio. That's a pretty good ratio because that polarization is getting attention. That attention is getting, some people are going to hate you. Cool, fuck off. The people that are going to love you are going to fucking love you, and they're your tribe, right? And that's who you want. So you're broadcasting yourself to more people to fucking love you, right? And so it's like why does that mean if he has a controversial opinion from some outtakes that people are posting on of his content about this or that, why does that give the powers that be the right to cancel him, to remove him completely, to delete him? What gives them the right to do that? So that we don't have free speech. That's what it's saying. It's saying we don't have free speech. It's saying if you become so successful, if you reach this level of success and you're still voicing your fucking opinions freely, then you're gone. Mm-hmm. You're gone. Because if he wasn't successful, no one would even give a shit. There's people regular people every day that post crazy wild shit on Instagram, and no one gives a shit because they're nobodies. Yeah. But if you reach this level of success and you're making this much money, and you're making this money from an online business, meaning over the internet, well, if it's successful, now you're not allowed to voice an opinion. Now, if you're voicing an opinion and you're making your money from the internet, boop, you're off the internet. You know, that's fucking wrong. That's wrong. Yeah. That's way more wrong than any like controversial opinion Andrew Tate said about anything. About women, like obviously like calling them bitches or whatever. Okay, I can see how people are like, that's not cool. But I can also see people like, that's just how he fucking talks. Okay, If that's how he talks, that's how he talks. People can talk however the fuck they want, and I'm gonna be able to sit there and go, okay, well, this is how this person is expressing themselves. This is how they talk. If it's not the way I would talk, who am I to go? You have to talk the way I talk. You know what I'm saying? Or you don't have the right to speak if you're not going to use the terminology that I agree with, right? This is creating a fucking a world where only one voice is allowed to speak, instead of all voices are allowed to speak and have a fucking conversation.
Well, I hear you loud and clear on the Tate thing. We sat down with Tate for
I watched
5-6 hours. I think it's absolutely disgusting that a lot of these digital social governments have canceled him. They do have terms of services. That's a whole conversation. Where I think I got really disgusting are the credit card processors and Ubers and PayPal and Airbnb and
exactly.
Discord.
What the fuck is
what
that?
Is that all
what
about?
Is that?
That's insane to me. However, circling back to Kanye, brands also have the ability. They can do whatever they want with their money. Balenciaga, Gap, Yeezy with Adidas. They say, listen, we don't need this drama in our lives. We're trying to run a business.
Yeah.
And if you want, the difference between Kanye and Andrew Tate is Andrew Tate came on the scene like boom, out of nowhere. In 6 months, he went from relative obscurity to literally the most Googled man on the planet. Mm-hmm. Kanye, we've been watching this slow drip for the better half of 2 decades, bro.
Yeah.
And it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
Artists are like that though.
Not like this, though, Pat.
No, but hear me out. Okay, for example, I'm thinking if I'm running Twitter, what am I doing with Kanye? Let's just say I own Twitter and I'm Elon Musk. What would I be doing? I'd probably be calling Kanye. So what he did is what I'd be doing. Hey, man, listen, you can't just say DEFCON 3. I understand you can say some certain terminology.
Yeah.
It's you can't use.
I mean, let's not lose the fact that the word death and Jews were right next to each other in bold letters.
I told
Yeah,
you.
So, like, come on.
No.
And I'm a Jewish person, but
That's not good. Obviously, that looks
substitute
terrible.
Jews for blacks, Asians, gays, women,
brother,
death to whatever.
But brother,
stop it, bro.
Let me tell you this.
Yeah.
Here's a rapper saying that. Let me tell you what my problem is. When a member of the Turkish parliament says, don't forget Armenians, what we did to you, we can make you disappear from the face of the planet, from
Disgusting.
history books, and that's still online, don't give me this bullshit about those two words are used together. Stay consistent, not you. Stay consistent, social media. If this
Twitter.
offends you, Twitter, if this offends you, that ought to offend you as well.
They did remove Kanye, though, but not the Turkish.
They did not remove the
Yeah.
member part. That guy's video is still up on his Twitter
Well, this
account.
is a common argument. Is like Ayatollah Khomeini could be on Twitter, but you're going to remove Trump.
You cannot be
What's
selective.
with the double standard? Correct.
You cannot be selective in that area. But this whole discussion here, guys, got started with one thing. The discussion got started with that image that they used that produced emotions with you, knowing what it's going to do. And to me, we have to understand that there could be a possibility that they're using us as pawns to get people to pin against each other. All I'm saying to you is, folks, whatever you get from our podcast, we're starting to get a lot of people that get on this podcast that don't agree with me politically. And some of you guys don't like Adam. Some of you guys like Adam. Some of you guys don't like my ideas. Some of you guys do like it. Here's the point. One thing I will tell you is left, right, center, wherever you are, dude, whatever you do, don't be naive. It's very easy for people from your own side to fool you and get the right emotions out of you because you're vested emotionally, because that's the side that you're supporting. All I'm saying to you is don't let the media do that to you. They've divided America plenty, and they're starting to lose. Their business model doesn't work. People are going away from listening to the news, and they're going to podcasters.
Yeah,
they're going
for a
to
good
podcasts.
reason. For
Yeah,
a good reason.
Of course.
Because this is becoming the space where people actually just speak their minds, have intelligent discussions. There's not intelligent discussions on the media. There's not open conversation. This is an open conversation where anybody's opinion or voice is allowed. The space to. I mean, that's what a dialogue is. The media is not dialogue. It's a singular opinion that's constantly being pumped and pumped and fucking pumped. That has no room for anything outside of it.
Yeah. So again, what they're threatened by is just yesterday. Can you put up Twitter if you can bring up Twitter? Robert Reich, which for a lot of people, if you know who Robert Reich is, he's a socialist that economically is always bashing capitalist constantly. If he gets a chance to do it, he does it. So he posted something yesterday, and I tweeted back. I responded back. Go to replies, and that way it'll come up instead of the way you're going. Yeah, go to replies, and go up. Let's see if it'll show it. Go up one more. I don't know if it's going to show you on the third one. There it is. That's the one right there. Okay, go up a little bit and zoom in. Perfect. Zoom in. Okay, so he first show his tweet at the bottom. Robert Reich tweets saying in 1978. CEO pay has increased 1,460%. Yes, you read that correctly. So don't tell me that corporations can't afford to pay workers higher wages and provide decent benefits. So if the average person reads that, stay on that real quick before you go to mine. Zoom in real close because I don't want people to read what I said. Even a little bit more. Go up a little bit. Okay. So if average person who reads that, they say what? Wow, since 1978, CEO's pay has increased by 1,460%. Yes, you read that correctly. So don't tell me that corporations can't afford to pay workers higher wages and provide decent benefits. What does that produce? Animosity towards who? CEOs. Animosity towards who else? Capitalists. The average person reads this. Who do they hate? They're disgusted by anybody that's a capitalist. So then I pose a nice question back to him. He never responds back to my questions. I don't know why he doesn't like my questions. Go up a little bit so I can read my question, Tyler, if you could. So here's my question, okay? I said, I'd like to get your thoughts on 3 additional stats. Average NBA player salary since 1978 has increased 9,400%. College tuition has increased 1,400% since 1978. And last but not least, you make $100,000 an hour for keynote. That's more than 99.9% of CEOs in America. Should we be concerned? So then people are like, well, that's interesting. I didn't know NBA players. The average NBA player in 1978 was making $40,000 a year. You know what the average NBA player salary is today?
$8.8 million. Really?
8.8 is the average NBA player's salary from $40,000. Are you happy for NBA players making 8.8? I am. I think they're fine. I don't sit there and judge them. I'm totally cool. I think LeBron deserves $100 million a year, not $30 million a year or $40 million a year. College tuition has increased 1,400%. Has our intelligence improved 1,400%? Has the education improved that much better? Are kids coming out of college right now just so much more brilliant than they came out in 1978? I don't know. And he's getting paid $100,000 to do a keynote. Isn't a socialist shouldn't get paid $100,000? Shouldn't a socialist take that $100,000 and give $1,000 to each attendee who's in the room and divide it amongst the attendees? That's what the right socialist should do. But guess what, Robert Reich? I think I'm happy that you're making $100,000 an hour. I don't judge you. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. But you're playing games and you're dividing and you're not telling the other side of the story. And some people are falling for it, but not anymore. People are starting to think for themselves. And this whole concept of thinking for yourself, it's starting to become popular and cool again because people are comfortable questioning things today, something we stopped doing for a few years. So, Adam, going back to you, maybe we should continue questioning things and seeing if we're right or if we're wrong.
If it turns out that someone in the media planted this or politicians planted this, I will gladly apologize and say, you got me. I was duped. But if you look at across the media, New York Post, not liberal, very right wing, they're posting about this too. They're talking about this too. The Jerusalem Post, a conservative Israeli newspaper, also talking about this. So I happen to think that this is a true story, but if I'm wrong, I'll gladly admit it.
I'm sorry, but here's my question for you. So am I supposed to sit there and believe that what they're posting, they fully know and vet it out to see the credibility of it? Or are you thinking that you don't think that they have to post that story so they don't seem one-sided either? They have to post it because they're also at risk if they don't. They have to post those stories.
How confident are you that this was a planted story and this was fake?
No.
That these weren't real Nazis protesting?
I didn't say that. What I'm saying to you is you cannot fully believe what they've done. Their credibility the last 6 years is a shit. If somebody came up to you.
You're talking about the media in general.
If somebody came up, if you're a bank.
Covering the story and the actual story are two different things.
No. If you're a bank, okay, I have come to you and I've asked you for a $600,000 loan 7 times. In the last 7 years, since 2015, you've been giving it to me. 7 times in a row, I've defaulted after 3 months. Would you give it to me again, or would you second guess me?
I would definitely second guess.
Okay, why are we not second guessing the media? Because that's all they've been doing for the last 7 years since 2015. Since 2015, they've been playing and toying with us. You want me to all of a sudden forgive and wake up and say, oh, you guys are all right. No, you would never divide us. Oh, my God, you would never do that. Every media's responsibility is to unite. That's what they want to do. They want us to be friends. They want us to get along. They want us to coexist. They don't want that.
I hear you, because you do make a valid point. But at the same time, isn't this a form of nihilism? Nothing's true. I don't believe anything. I have to second guess everything.
No.
I'm giving you the other side of the equation. How can I believe anything?
Bro, you're talking to
My
a
buddy
guy.
said this. The newspaper said this.
You're talking to a guy.
Nothing is real.
You're talking to a guy that's a Christian that sat at church this Sunday, and my analytical mind went to a part of the Bible that I'm, I have a hard time with this. I have a hard time. My brain's going there, and then at the end, I have to come back to faith. But that's a different relationship with the man upstairs. I may be wrong that God doesn't exist. I may be wrong that I bought into the system that's 2,000 years old, and Jesus said a few different words that people wrote about it and made him seem bigger than he was. I may end up being wrong. But it's a risk I'm willing to take because that's faith with the man upstairs. That's a different kind of risk I'm taking. I have zero faith in media. That's a very different story because the one here is a different relationship. The one here has let me down one too many times for me to sit here and trust the media that what they say is, let me take you to the bank and all this stuff. No, we need to get a little bit more. What is the whole concept of questioning things? What are you supposed to do? What's wrong with questioning things? What
I'm
is
totally
wrong?
cool with that.
Then that's
what we stand for.
We should keep questioning until, if they're right, you're right, man. Hey, that's a screw up. You shouldn't have done that. Like Russia. Russia this, Russia. Republicans started believing that maybe he was tied to Russia when they kept saying Russia because they said it a million times. And then the moment they realized this whole thing was a job by Hillary Clinton, everybody went away from it, and Hillary Clinton became the International Woman of the Year by Forbes. We're supposed to now, and now she's got a podcast going on with Chelsea trying to rebrand herself because she sees an opening to potentially having her dream become a reality of being a president. Everybody's on the chomping blocks right now. Everybody's just sitting on the sidelines saying, this may be my opportunity to be a president. She's at the top of the list. Yeah, I'm not sitting here buying that these guys are now reporting. Now, what he did say is a true tweet. That's not fake. That's what he tweeted. So that part, I will judge that because it's his words that came out that we could read. All the other stuff, the division, I'm going to sit there and say, okay, all right, cool. I'll read this. I'll read that. I'll read this. Let's see what happens. But I'm not going to sit there and say it's 100%. These guys are not playing games behind closed doors. No, I'm not playing that game.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. No, you do that, you're going to be in trouble doing that because that means you're constantly controlled by people telling you the stories. That's not what does DD mean? What does due diligence mean?
Doing your homework.
We need to do a little bit more of our homework.
Yeah, but this is sort of, I hear what you're saying, Pat.
Yeah.
And we're coming to agreement here. But the whole premise of what I try to do is read CNN, read MSNBC, read Bloomberg, but then read Fox, read Wall Street Journal, read Reuters, and actually formulate opinion.
I think what you're saying kind of is the whole concept of if you watch the news, if you don't watch the news, you're uninformed. If you watch the news, you're misinformed, right? I mean, Isn't it kind of like that's why I don't watch the news at all, right? I don't pay attention to, like I said, I'm not into politics. I don't watch the news. I just go off of, I form my beliefs off of, what I see, right? And I feel like that kind of is thinking for yourself, because if you only think about, if you think that you think for yourself, but all you go on is, you go off of is what the news tells you, rather than, just what your own, contemplation, reflection, observation of the world around you. If you're not doing that and all you're going off of is what the news says, then, are you thinking for yourself, or are you just thinking about what they're telling you? But if you don't pay attention at all to the news and you just kind of observe everything that happens as a third-party observer, and then based on your own contemplation of things, reflect and form your own opinions, that to me is thinking for yourself.
Yeah, look, they asked one time who Denzel voted for, and what was his answer? None of your business who I voted for, right? Because he's in Hollywood. He doesn't want to tell you. But what does none of your business really mean? Okay, just think about it. When somebody asks you in Hollywood, who did you vote for? None of your business. You know what none of your business means, right? Okay. And then he says, where do you get your news from? And he says, the whole misinformed and, uninformed when you're getting your own intel. A guy, today it's so risky for everybody today for us to see what to do with the information that we're getting. I think we should stay nimble. I think we should stay loose. I think we should study. I think we should look at what's going on, what's being said, and then make a decision for yourself which side you want to go with. But I'm not going to sit there and tell you better believe what they're saying. Now, let me tell you what these guys are saying. We have way too much of people that whatever Tucker Carlson says is a doctrine 100%, and whatever Cooper, Maddow, Joe, whatever they say, it's 100% this. No, man, listen, kind of go, study it for your own, see what the other side is saying as well, and then make a decision. But it's for me to see stuff like this and what they're doing. This is a very weird time. You're going to see a lot more of these stories the next 18 months because the opportunity, you got to realize the most powerful position is available for anybody to take. You have to replace a Biden. Do you know what that means? Think about if you're a Democrat. What are you thinking? And you have aspirations of being a president. Imagine if your name is Newsom. Mm-hmm. Imagine if your name is Kamala Harris. You don't think deep down inside she wants to be the first female African-American president? Think about
first female president, period.
Think about if your name is Hillary Clinton. Think about if your name is Mark Cuban. Think about if your name, all these guys, they're sitting there saying, man, what's the pinnacle? What's the job? What are a couple titles that you get in life that you're locked in history books? What is
president is at the top of the list.
What's second to that? Actually, give me the second to that. Billionaire? What's second to that? What's a list like, hey, you were, a billionaire, a superstar in sports, a super actor. Like, I think those are some. What else would you put?
I mean, those are all great. There's
know.
hundreds of them, though. There's only 45 presidents.
You're right. What I'm saying is president is at the top.
Of course.
Everything else comes after that, right? Okay, cool. That position is kind of open. You ain't replacing somebody like Reagan. You ain't replacing a Bill Clinton. That's not easy to do. Those were.
Do you feel like billionaires like Mark Cuban or Elon Musk or any of these, are even interested in being president? Because
Cuban.
Really?
I think
Elon's born in South Africa.
It's
so
always
he can't
seemed to
run.
me that like billionaires of that stature, like, why the fuck would I want to be president?
Well, Bloomberg ran last time. What was the other guy that ran in the Democratic Party? I forgot his name.
John Huntsman ran once.
No.
Romney ran. He's not a billionaire.
This past
though.
year, the guy that threw a ton of money at the campaign, Democratic candidate, Tom. No, Jay Inslee was the governor of Washington.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. But
Just didn't have pizzazz.
by the way, most of them don't.
2020.
They don't want
Most
to be
of them
president.
don't. No, most of them don't.
Well, what does that say?
It's
Because do you think it has anything to do with just the fact that like politics is such a dirty game, and that they know if that they run for president, they're just gonna have a huge just target on their back?
Yeah,
or
Tom Steyer.
some of them have stuff in the closet that they don't want to come out because it's going to hurt their kids. Some of them don't want their kids to be affected by the constant, Trump went from a hero the day before he announced he's running to becoming the biggest villain in the history of America for what he did. Do I really want to do that to my last name? You think Trump's being invited to the same parties he was being invited before he ran? No. You think Trump's hanging out with the same people that he knows? You think people in Hollywood who took pictures with Trump in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, what would happen today if major Hollywood stars got caught taking a picture with Trump and that circulated among social media? What would happen if, a Ryan Gosling got a picture next to Trump today? What would happen if Ryan Gosling had a picture next to Bezos today? Nobody would care if he had a picture next to Bezos. If he had a picture next to Bill Gates, okay. If he had a picture next to Warren Buffett, nothing. You got a picture next to Trump today? Oh, maybe a career-ending type of a picture for him. Think about it. It's a world you know very well.
Yeah.
So most billionaires are sitting there saying, I'll stay in my 40,000 square foot house. I'll put the nice parties. I'll have good food and be left alone and enjoy myself. And you guys go at it. I'll just do something from the back end and fund this and fund that. I don't want to get myself involved.
By the way, there's nothing wrong with that. You've made it to billionaire status. Live your life, baby.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. But there are a lot today that see this as an opportunity, and you're going to see people making a run at it. This is a very opportunistic season on who's going to make the next run for being a president. Did your family ever have aspirations of stuff like that, or no? Dad running or anything like that? Not really. He just loves the game that he's playing. That's his world.
Yeah.
He
just loves his craft,
and it's great. It's the love of the game, and if you can do what you love, you're in a very unique community, because that's the best life you can live.
Chet,
playing the game you love.
Last question for you, bro. You're carving your own path in life. You're your own man. It's clear, right? You have gratitude for your family. You're blessed, but you're also your own man. What do you want to be known as? You said you're 32. Looking down the road, you're 35, you're 40. Who will Chet Hanks be?
I'm not so much interested in who I'll be, but just who I am. I don't feel that the goal is anything out in the distance. I feel like it's just being fully who you are in the present, right? I think that's that's just much more. It's much more fulfilling, because the work is, wherever you go, there you are. So the goal is to just, the work is right here in front of you, and the reward. It's not something way out in the distance. Because ultimately, I just have, it's really just all about trusting in source. Trusting in source, in God. Because if you have trust in source, then there's nothing to be apprehensive about. There's nothing there's not a carrot on a stick that's like constantly out of your reach. You know what I'm saying? You already, everything is happening in the now,
I think what you're saying is, like, if you live in the past, you have depression. If you live in the future, of anxiety. But if you live in the moment, there you are.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a great place to be. Chet, tell us about your fitness. You're working on a few different projects, and I know we have it in the description and in the chat. But if you don't mind sharing with the audience some of the stuff you're working on right now.
Hanks Fit Self Mastery Program. Look, a lot of people reach out to me because they identify with my struggles. I've been open with my struggles. You know, I'm sober today. I struggled with substance abuse for a long time. I damn near ran my life into the ground several times, right? But kind of what I've learned is that, like I was saying earlier about, you know, dealing with the cards that you've been given, right? Is that you could be fucking up that hand for your entire life, but then once a flip switches and you realize the right way to play the cards you've been dealt, you realize that you've had these cards the whole time. So my point with that is that I think there's like a thin line between the people who, you know, might like be the black sheep of their family, the people that have, you know, been, you know, maybe like who have fucked up, because there's a thin line between that and actually those qualities being an asset to you, right? Because the people that you know might have been the black sheep or that have fucked up are the risk takers, right? They're the truth tellers. They're the people who aren't afraid to, you know, venture out from the herd, right? They're the sheep that's not afraid to venture out from the herd, right? And to me, there's a lot of value in that. As there's a lot of personal value in those type of individuals, right? Because once that those qualities are channeled correctly, they can, what used to make you your worst enemy can now be your greatest asset. And this is kind of, I just see as like a matter of just getting out of your own way, right? It's not so much a distance that you have to travel to become something that you aren't already. It's about clearing away all this shit that gets in the way of you being the best version of yourself in the present, like I was speaking about, being that highest version of yourself. Like imagine at some point I just had to say to myself, who would I be if I dropped the drugs, if I dropped the booze once and for all, if I fully became like militantly disciplined, if I was extremely militant on myself to wake up early, to work out every day, to eat healthy, hit my macros so that my training, the exertion that I'm putting my body through is actually going to get results, because the nutrition is 90% of it. And that's what most people get fucked up on, because they'll get motivated to go to the gym for a while and not be knowing what to eat. So they won't get any results. Then they lose hope. Right. So who would this person be if I made these things mandatory in my life? Cold turkey from dropping everything, waking up early, working out, diet. Then you start to get into the deeper stuff. Okay, now I'm taking care of my body. Well, now how do I take care of my mind? The meditation, journaling, reflection, doing things of a healthy nature to deal with all the chatter up here in our heads, right? Our mental health. Because I mean, it's at an all-time. I feel like it's at an all-time crisis, especially not just for everybody, but especially for young men, especially for men, right? And I think that's why another reason why Andrew Tate was so impactful, because he had something that was resonating with young men, right? Because we do struggle with our mental health. So what I like to say is that this is all like truly like the answer for all of our problems. It lies within our own self-mastery, lies within the level of self-mastery that we can create within ourselves. And what I believe and what my program is all about is that mastery of the physical, mastery of our physical state is what leads to mastery of our mental state. Mastery of our mental state is what leads the clearing up of all of our negative, thinking patterns, our depression, our anxiety, our fear, right? The incessant chatter, the negative self-talk, right? Clearing up mastering our mental state is what leads us to mastery of our spiritual life. And mastery of our spiritual life is simply defined as ultimate trust in source, right? So mastery of the physical leads to mastery of the mental leads to mastery of the spiritual just ultimate trust in source, free of all fear, right? fear, anxiety, depression, regret, fear, just present, right? Because like you said, depression is having
Living in the past.
is living in the past. Anxiety is living in the future. The answer is therefore in the present. So how can we make our present state as connected to source as it possibly can be? Because if we're connected to source, then it's absolute peace. There's no, it's a still pond. There's not a ripple in the pond, right? And I believe that the goal of self-mastery is to live our lives, is to strive to live our lives in that state as much as possible. In a flow state, to live our lives because when you start to meditate and you get into deep, it becomes more habitual to meditate. You do have experiences where your mind is just completely still, right? You're just complete conscious being. There's not even a ripple. There's not a ripple in the water. Okay, it's just a still pond, right? And then when you come at it, and you can also reach that state during peak physical performance, during exercise, when you're in a flow state where you're not thinking. It's like, okay, Michael Jordan doing a layup. He's not thinking about, well, how am I gonna bet? He's just flowing. His mind is gone. He's just in it, right? He's flowing, right? So being in a flow state, and I believe, once we start to couple these things, the fitness, the meditation, the things of a spiritual nature, we realize is that flow state doesn't have to end when we come out of our meditation. It doesn't have to end after our workout. It starts off like when we start working out, we'll feel really good. And then after our workout, then we go back to real life and we're back in the stress, back in the fear, back in the anxiety. We could have a really powerful meditation for 30 minutes. Then we wake up out of our meditation and then we're right back into real life, the stress, the anxiety. I think the goal of self-mastery is to, through these practices, which need to be exercised like a muscle, not just with your literal muscles, but with your mental muscles of meditation and connecting to a higher source, right? Is that what we're doing is we're exercising our entire being to live in that state, so that every waking moment, right? Not just when you're in a meditation or out of a meditation, not just when you're in the middle of a workout or whether or after a workout, but so our entire living experience can just be a long extended flow state where we're moving through the world and operating within our own being, free, present and free from anxiety, free from fear, free from stress, free from not being able to voice the fear of not being able to voice our opinions, right? Just being authentically us. And I feel like if everybody could do that, I feel like that quality, that freedom is the ultimate high that everybody is searching for, right? That is the high that people are searching for when they do drugs, when they get drunk, when they do anything, right? They're searching for a feeling of being in an elevated state, right? And what I'm saying is that the true high that we're all searching for is just that comfort, that freedom, that comfort of being in our own skin, that connection to a higher source, a calmness and a faith in source that everything is unfolding exactly as it should, that there's nothing to fear, right? That there's nothing to be anxious about, that if you're stressed out, okay, you can be stressed out about because when you're an entrepreneur and you're running your own business, of course, there's going to be shit that stresses you out every day when you're building a business and you're an entrepreneur and it's all on you, right? But to allow yourself to be stressed about whatever, but to allow these emotions to just come and go and wash over you, to not get attached to them, to not make these negative emotions your entire the essence of your entire being. Whatever you've gone through, whether you're going through a breakup and you're making that relationship be the entire defining thing of your entire existence, whether you're an entrepreneur and your business is struggling, making that the entire thing of your existence, making your struggles with this substance, the defining thing of your existence, to just completely by being sober first and foremost, allowing yourself to just without anything, without any foreign thing, coming to interrupt your connection to the ultimate high, to just allow that ultimate high to blossom, which is just living as our highest self.
And all of this is in the website. Like this is the kind of a commentary I'm going to get because I looked at your website right now. We put the link up there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of content of that there to get me mentally.
This is how it works. So I create a custom workout plan, a custom nutrition plan for each person. We do Zoom calls once a week. So these kind of conversations are what I get into on the Zoom calls. There's a standard package where the Zoom calls are in a group, and there's an elite package where the Zoom calls are one-on-one. The elite, this is more like mentorship. So in the one-on-one calls, we get really deep. It's just me and another person. I get to know a lot about my clients. They get to know a lot about me. Awesome. And we work one-on-one directly. We do a Zoom call once a week. If you're interested in joining, the best way to do it would be to go to...
Link is below.
Go on the link in my bio, hanxfit.com, HANXFIT. You can join immediately by selecting one of those two packages on the standard membership. This will automatically trigger me to get an alert that you've joined, which is the quickest way to do it, which I suggest what you do, because then I'll get an alert immediately the second you join, and I'll reach out to you immediately. If not, and you want to ask me some questions beforehand, then you can also go to my website, enter and send me a text message in that little text bubble down there. If you write your message to me, that will send me a text directly to my phone, and then I can hit you back. But I'm sure after this airs, there's going to be a lot of people reaching out to me, and I do this all myself, so it might take me a while to get back to you. So if you truly are ready to start, I would suggest just joining automatically from one of those two packages. And then, of course, if you want to extend to a larger package or the elite program, then I can just prorate you for that. So, yeah, just hanxfit.com.
Sounds good. Well, appreciate you for coming out. This was great. Really enjoyed having you on. The perspective of the life you've lived and what you're doing next. Very excited for you. And Tyler, are we doing podcast Thursday or no? We got Thursday and we got Friday, right?
Thursday,
Friday, I think, is the producer of Entourage, and then Thursday is Doug Ellen's going to be on Friday. Thursday is going to be
Whitney.
Oh my God, that one's going to be hot. That one's going to be Epstein Conversations, right? Which she wrote a book about that.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's been a blast having you on, man. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for being able to take the questions. I know some of this stuff is, you hear the questions repetitive, and it's just sometimes gets annoying. Some of the stuff we talked about was fresh for the audience and ourselves, but we really enjoyed having you on.
Thank you.
Have a good one, everybody. We'll do this again Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye.